So what really keeps us happy and healthy as we go through life? It's one of those big questions, right? And today we're going to dive into what might just be the clearest answer humanity has ever found, based on some really incredible decades-long research.
So let me ask you something. If you were going to invest in your future best self right now, this very moment, what would you focus on? Where would you put your most precious resources, your time and your energy? Well, if you're like a lot of folks, your answer probably looks something like this. A recent survey asked millennials this exact question, and the answers were pretty revealing. A whopping 80% said that a major life goal was to get rich. And for 50% of those same young adults, another huge goal was to become famous.
I mean, it totally makes sense, right? We're just bombarded with these messages all day, every day. Lean in at work, push harder, achieve more. It's like we're given this roadmap that says these are the things you have to chase to have a good life. But is that really true?
So here's the tricky part. How can we actually know what works? I mean, for a whole lifetime? Most of what we think we know about life comes from looking back. And let's be honest, our memory is, well, it's unreliable at best. We forget huge chunks of what happened to us. So what if? What if we could watch entire lives as they unfold, in real time, from when people were teenagers all the way into their old age?
Believe it or not, someone actually did that. It's called the Harvard Study of Adult Development, and it might just be the most ambitious study of adult life ever done. For over 75 years, they've tracked the lives of hundreds of people year after year, asking about their work, their home life, their health, all of it. And when I say ambitious, I mean it. The scale here is just mind-blowing. It started way back in 1938 with 724 men, followed them through World War II and all the way into their 90s. And get this, today the study even includes their children, more than 2,000 of them. The fact this study even still exists is kind of a miracle, really.
And this wasn't just some uniform group of people, not at all. They followed two incredibly different groups. On one hand, you had these Harvard sophomores, pretty much the definition of privileged, set up for success. And on the other hand, a group that couldn't be more different. Boys from Boston's absolute poorest neighborhoods. Many grew up in tenement buildings, no hot water, just a world away. These guys became factory workers, bricklayers, lawyers, doctors, and one of them even became president of the United States. So, after 75 years, after digging through literally tens of thousands of pages of information, we're talking brain scans, blood work, interviews with their families, what did they learn? What was the single biggest takeaway from all of this? Well, I can tell you what it wasn't. It had nothing to do with wealth or fame or working yourself to the bone. The clearest message, the number one thing that came through loud and clear was this. Good relationships keep us happier and healthier. Period. That's it. That's the secret sauce from 75 years of data. So what does that actually look like in our lives?
Well, the study actually boils this all down into 3 huge lessons for us.
Okay, so here they are. First, social connection is everything. Second, it's all about the quality of your relationships, not just having them. And third, good relationships actually protect our brains. Pretty amazing, right? Let's break each one down. All right, lesson number 1. It's simple, but it's powerful. Social connections are literally good for us. And loneliness kills. The study showed, clear as day, that people who are more connected to family, to friends, to their community, they're not just happier, they are physically healthier, and they live longer than people who are isolated. Loneliness, it turns out, is toxic.
Okay, lesson 2 takes it a step further, because it turns out it's not just about having relationships, it's about the quality of those relationships. Living in the middle of constant conflict, like a really rocky marriage with no affection, that's actually awful for our health. Maybe even worse than getting a divorce. But on the flip side, being in good, warm, supportive relationships, that's like a shield. It protects us from all the tough stuff life throws our way.
And listen to this. This one finding just blew my mind. When the researchers looked at these guys when they were 50 years old, you know what predicted how healthy they'd be at 80? It wasn't their cholesterol levels. No, it was how satisfied they were in their relationships. The people who were most satisfied at 50 were the healthiest at age 80. Just let that sink in for a second. That's incredible.
And that brings us to the third big lesson, which is just as powerful. Good relationships don't just protect our bodies, they protect our brains. It turns out being in a relationship where you feel truly secure and can count on the other person, especially in your 80s, is a huge buffer for your mind. People who had that, their memories stayed sharper for way longer. Okay, so if this is basically wisdom as old as time, why is it so hard for us to actually do it? Why is it so easy to forget? Well, because we're human, right? We're wired to want the quick fix, the magic pill. And relationships, they're the opposite of that. They're messy, they're complicated, and taking care of them is a lifelong job. It's not glamorous, it's not sexy, it's just life.
So what can we actually do? Well, the study showed that the people who ended up happiest and healthiest were the ones who actively leaned in to relationships with family, with friends, with community. And it doesn't have to be some huge dramatic thing. It can be as simple as putting down your phone and having a real conversation, replacing screen time with people time, or maybe spicing up a relationship that's gotten a little stale by trying something new together. You know, go for a long walk, have a real date night. Or what about reaching out to that family member you haven't talked to in years? Because carrying around all that resentment, it takes a heavy toll on us.
I want to leave you with a quote from Mark Twain, who was looking back on his life when he wrote this. It really sums the whole thing up. He wrote, "There isn't time, so brief as life, for bickerings, apologies, heartburnings, callings to account. There's only time for loving and but an instant, so to speak, for that." For 75 years, the science has been telling us the same thing. A good life is built with good relationships. So the only real question left is, what are you building?